يا حامل القرآن قد خصك الرحمن بالفضل والتيجان والروح والريحان. يا حامل القرآن قد خصك الرحمن بالفضل والتيجان.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. أما بعد، فإن خير الكلام كلام الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. I praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and then I confer blessings upon the final Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. When we look at some of the common reasons or common issues that rise today in family, and in fact there are many issues, but if you look at one of the most rising issue in the reason why families break down, or we could say that relationships come to an end, is because of sins. And among those sins is the famous sin of backbiting and slandering. And this is something that's widespread now, and it's something that's very normal, and it's something that we as Muslims also consider as something very light, something that doesn't really have much value. And it's something to remind ourselves again and again of the prohibitions mentioned in the Qur'an and in the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Thus, to remind ourselves again and again, my dear brothers, of these actions, of these prohibited actions, so a person keeps himself away. And that's the idea. Why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala send down the prohibitions? I mean, forget about me advising you today. Forget about me warning you today, or you warning me, or you advising me. Let's just look at the concept of why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala azza wa jalla wa ala send down the prohibitions himself. The Qur'an is a guide. It is a guide to life. It is a guide of how we should worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the greatest blessing we have, and is that we are Muslims, alhamdulillah. And being a Muslim and being a true believer is someone who submits to the will of Allah, submits to the commandments of Allah, submits and says, you know what, if Allah Jalla wa Ala has made something haram, I accept that. I don't debate that. I don't say why, I don't question it. Right? Anything about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, anything about Islam. And that is the meaning of being a Muslim. Right? Being a Muslim. And when we talk about sins and prohibited actions, we can go on forever. Because unfortunately around us today, all we see is sin. All we hear about is sin. And we're not there to tell people about it. we don't remind ourselves and we don't do ourselves a favor by following the Qur'an and the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You know, there was a question that was put the other day, and somebody asked, you know, Ya Shaykh, how can I have barakah in my life? I come home, I'm stressed. I'm working 9 to 5 or whatever he was working. I'm coming home and I'm really stressed, and you know, what I hear on the news, what I hear around me, children are so rude today. Everything is just becoming worse day after day. What's the solution? Right? And there's no black and white answer, there's no clear-cut answer, but the best that you can do is just read about the Prophet ﷺ and read about his life and things that he went through. And you read a little bit about the seerah, you realize, subhanAllah, you are nothing and we are blessed. Because by nature we are bound to deny our favors. Look at the question that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a rhetorical type of question that Allah ta'ala puts in Surah Rahman, فَبِأَيِّ آلَاء. So with which blessings? And ala is a very powerful word in Arabic language. It doesn't just mean ni'mah. It means various blessings all put together, and it goes beyond that in terms of meaning. It's just, you know, when you talk about a blessing, no, it's more than a blessing what Allah has given us. فَبِأَيِّ آلَاء رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ. Which of those great blessings of Allah can you really deny? Can you say, no, Allah didn't give me something? Something simple, that's the answer. But going back to our topic today, we're talking about sins. As I said, there's so many, my dear brothers. But backbiting, ghiba. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam asked the Sahaba, أَتَدْرُونَ مَا الْغِيبَةِ. Do you know what ghiba is? Do you know what backbiting is? Ghiba comes from the word ghaib, gha, ya and ba, ghain, ya and ba. Ghaib refers to the unseen, something that's not in front of you. And the Sahaba anhum asked, Bala ya Rasulullah, tell us, what is ghiba? What is this? What is this backbiting? So, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, ذِكْرُكَ أَخَاكَ بِمَا يَكْرَهُ. Your mention about your brother or sister in a way that they don't like, whether that's in front of them or behind them. And this is something that's known. And of course the ulama mentioned some of those reasons, and some of those reasons when it is permissible to do that. When a person is warning others, when a person is giving a description of an individual. Okay, when a person is warning others and a person says, so if a brother comes to you and says to you, brother, I want my sister to get married, and tell me about this other brother that you know in the masjid, you have to be honest, you have to tell them the truth. But things like this is where it becomes permissible. But in general, the concept of ghiba has become completely known. And I know one specific family very, very close to me, and they have major issues in that family simply because the mother and one of the girls in the house, one of the sisters in the house, was just speaking about another among the sisters or among the family members. Just because of that, the amount of issues that's created over 15 years is unbelievable. Unbelievable. And this is happening so much. Whether it be brothers, whether it be sisters. We ask Allah Jalla wa Ala an yuwaffiqana. May Allah give us the sight, the ability to see these sins and to stop and to keep away from these sins. These sins are not normal, and they are among the kaba'ir, among the major sins. أقول ما تسمعون هذا واستغفر الله لي ولسائر المسلمين واستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم على النبي محمد صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم أما بعد. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam once walking by the graveyards to be reminded of death, a revelation came to the Prophet ﷺ, and his hadith is in Bukhari, in which he was informed about two individuals whom are being punished in the grave severely. As for one of them, when he would pass urine, he would not take care of himself by washing properly, and thus he was being punished in the grave. And this is something that's a norm. We make so many excuses when the deen is so simple and easy. Right? It is very, very easy for a person to cleanse himself, even if it means, excuse my expression over here, but I have to teach you guys, even if it just means tissues and that's it, that's all you use. This is how easy the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is when it comes to difficult situations at work or in environments where maybe the place of toilet might not be clean. But the deen is easy. At the time of the Sahaba, they would use stones at times to remove the impurities. Don't make the deen difficult for you. This is what it was. So the Prophet ﷺ said about one individual that when he would go past you, he wouldn't take care of himself. فَكَانَ لَا يَسْتَتِرُ مِنَ الْبَوْلِ. You know, he wouldn't take care of himself when doing that. And the other, فَكَانَ يَمْشِي بِالنَّمِيمَةِ. The other person, he would start to gossip about people. Now, namima, the word namima is different to backbiting. It's more gossiping. And the word gossip is understood as when you want to make fasad between two people, when you want to cause corruption between two parties. So an individual, as an example, says, you know what, I'm going to cause fitna between these two brothers. So I'm going to go to this brother and I'm going to start talking about him in a bad way or something that will cause fitna between the two. And if you lie about him, that is slandering. All of these sins, backbiting, slandering, gossiping, is among the major sins and haram bi-ittifaq al-ulama, with the agreement of the scholars. And this is that which a person will be punished in the grave, my dear brothers. Do you not think of the grave? Do you not think about it that, you know, today, alhamdulillah, I'm alive here, alhamdulillah, by the fadl of Allah, it's only the rahmah of Allah. But imagine if I was in the grave, and I'm asking myself this question. What would happen? How many sins do we have? Right? These are examples of sins. Among those sins are many other sins. The sins of not paying a person on time. Right? People who work in construction, they will know exactly what I mean. And people who work in different trades also will know what I mean. And this is a norm, that Muslims don't want to pay the others, and it is haram that a person does not pay the other person in time. That if the person wipes his sweat, meaning that if that day has been complete, it is haram upon you. There's no such thing as, "Akhi, I'll pay you tomorrow, it doesn't matter." You've got to pay him that day. And this is absolutely normal. The buying and selling, the fiqh of buying and selling transactions is a big topic. One of the biggest books of fiqh of halal and haram, do's and don'ts, is buying and selling. And the conditions around that, the Prophet ﷺ will speak about in so much great detail. There's a lot to learn, my dear brothers, and this is why I advise you all to fear Allah. أوصيكم ونفسي بتقوى الله. I advise you and myself to fear Allah, to be conscious of Allah, because you will be held accountable. Allah says in Surah Qaf, ما يلفظ من قول إلا لديه رقيب عتيد. There is not a statement that is uttered except that has been recorded completely. Recorded by the Kiram and Katibin, the angels. A statement that you utter. A statement, a message that you message on WhatsApp, on message, whatever. Any form of communication, it is recorded. A person will be held accountable for that which he said, that which he is kept inside. Or wasawis, or whispers of the shaitan. He will not be held accountable for that. So we ask Allah Ta'ala on this blessed day today, that He gives us tawfiq to recognize sins, and so that we can keep away from them. Not so that we can boast about our sins and tell people about them, but rather that we can keep away from those sins. As Allah Ta'ala says, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu ijtanibu kathiran min al-dhann. O you who believe, keep away from a lot of suspicion. And don't backbite others. Then Allah Ta'ala says, أَيُحِبُّ أَحَدُكُمْ Would one of you like either you eat your dead brother's meat? فَكَرِهْتُمُ Allah answered the question here, you would dislike it, and that is the punishment of ghibah, as described by Jibreel alayhi salatu wasalam to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That people were eating their brother's dead meat, yani, because of backbiting, speaking bad and ill about their brothers. Oh, look at the way he looks like. Look at him. Oh, you're that brother. Oh, you're that brother. He has such bad manners. He looks like this. He drives this car. He's married to this woman. He does this. He does that. And the Prophet ﷺ said, "Min husn Islami al-mar'i tarkuhu ma la ya'nihi." From the etiquettes of one's Islam, yani being a good Muslim, being a proper Muslim, that person doesn't care about those things that does not concern him. What has that family got to do with you? What have these neighbors got to do with you? Yani if they have certain issues, leave it to them. Make dua for your brothers and sisters. Make dua for them. And try to be them, and try to be for them, in helping them. We ask Allah Ta'ala, He gives us a tawfiq to recognize, He says, before al-hisab, before the hisab comes upon us, before maut, before the ajal, before that time, وَلَنْ يُؤَخِّرَ اللَّهُ نَفْسًا إِذَا جَاءَ أَجَلُهَا. There won't be a millisecond of delay when it's your time. When it is my time, our time, my dear brothers, there will be no such delay even for a second. We ask Allah Ta'ala to give us tawfiq. And as a reminder, as a polite reminder, as a gentle reminder, sadaqah is that which removes the anger of Allah, as mentioned by the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. It removes the anger of Allah. Someone asks, Shaykh, I've sinned, I've done a sin. How can I pay this back? What can I do? Repenting to Allah, to not return to that sin, and give some sadaqah, give some charity. And that's a perfect opportunity on a Friday. On a Friday, on this blessed day, the best day of the week. اللهم إنا نسألك الجنة وما قرب إليها من قول وعمل ونعوذ بك من النار وما قرب إليها من قول وعمل اللهم أجرنا من النار اللهم إنك عفو تحب العفو فاعف عنا اللهم اغفر لنا ذنوبنا وإسرافنا في أمرنا وثبت أقدامنا وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين اللهم اغفر لنا ذنوبنا وكفر عنا سيئاتنا وتوفنا مع الأبرار اللهم ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم قوموا لصلاتكم يرحمكم الله.
يا حامل القرآن قد خصك الرحمن بالفضل والتيجان والروح والريحان يا حامل القرآن قد خصك الرحمن بالفضل والتيجان